Alright, this is day 3, recording ahead of schedule now. So we're going over creating text, moving text on your screen, and just all that jazz with text. So here we got a little text thing. We're gonna make it really long. We're gonna cut it down a little bit though. Maybe a good like right here. There you go. This is our text thing. So we're gonna just click on it, and then we're going to go up here to effect controls. Now this has everything to do with where the text at is on the screen, editing the text, changing the text, moving the text. So basically we want to start off with position. Position is basically has two sliders. I think one up and down, another one is left and right. So you take this left and right, the other one up and down, and then that's pretty simple. Scaling, when you do scale, scales up, scales down, scales up, scales down. And then rotate, you'll rotate it 360 degrees, and you can do it multiple times. And there you go. Anchor point, you can ignore this. It's not really needed. The text one, right, how I edit, you won't use it. The text one, you can just change how the text is. You want the text to be bigger, you just go right here. You can change the size of the text. Like when we got a bigger text, you can change how it's oriented in the middle text. That's the one you should typically use middle text. You can change the font size. You can fill it in. You can add a stroke to it, which will add a black border around the text. You can add a background, which will be like a black background. It's a background. You can change the color of that. You can add a shadow, which will just be like an overlay kind of the text. And you can change the shadow's position to however you like. You can change the distance, and you can change the spread, and you can change the opacity of it too. So that's all that has to do with the text. And then there's another position and scale for the text. So there's two positions and scales for the text: the rotation and the opacity. It shows how much you can see it on the screen. And that's the bulk. This is all for the text. That's all for the text. Now what we can get into is basically what most of these people editing is making subtitles. And yeah, subtitles are kind of tedious. Gonna line it up to make it easier. So basically in this menu, because we got a lot of little dialogue audio tracks. We got too many audio tracks, so we're gonna shift this down to 1 to make it easier. Basically, I wish I had a good example. Let me just, okay, that's not a good audio to use. All right, we'll just ignore this. Basically, once you start off, you want to know how to subtitle, and you want to make your subtitles pop. You just don't want them appearing on the screen when somebody talks. Here, let me record a little sample dialogue. Alright, so we have our little audio track. I just said I like audio. Make it. And then we added a little game background just for nothing. And then we have this. So we can see where this part where I say I and like. So we want to first line it up with the text. And we'll expand it. We'll change it later, but we won't. Now you want to make this text pop. You just don't want it like, look at this. And then it just appears on the screen and then disappears. You don't want that. You don't want that. You want a little bumpiness. You want a little bump. So here's the most basic one, and the easiest one you can do is you click scale right here, click scale, and we're at 100, and then change your font size. Don't use scale to have the font size. Always change it right here, because then you can scale it differently. Always don't I already said it enough. Use the font size to make it look bigger. Don't use scale. So now that we're at scale, it's at 100. We're gonna go over three frames by clicking the left arrow. Left arrow 3 times. 1, 2, 3. There you go. At a keyframe, it's this little thing right here. Boom. And then we're going to go right here to our scale. Click that, and then set it to 110. So boom, you see it. This is basically telling you, this is the timeline right here for the text. It's basically telling you at this point it needs to be at 100 scale, and at this keyframe it needs to be at 110. So basically the in between, it is going to increase to that point. And that's basically how everything works in here with the keyframes. You're basically telling it, hey, at this point you want to be this size, and at this point you want to be at this size. In position, it's just basically you want to be at this point right here, and then that point right there. And then that's literally, it's very simple to understand. But next thing, we're gonna go over another 3 frames, 1, 2, 3. Then we're gonna boot this up. We're gonna do 115. Another 3 frames, 1, 2, 3. And we're gonna stop at 120, because depending on how long you talk and how long the audio is, you might want to change how long these keyframes are. But most of the time, it will be this default. Mostly because I talk too fast. All right, you won't even get to the end of this. And the next thing, we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna go back to 110. And we're gonna go over 1, 2, 3, and then 105. And 1, 2, 3, and then back to 100. So this is probably about not even a full second, I think. All right, our next course of action is to now line the text that we've just created with what we were talking about. So let's resize, let's move it on the screen. And by clicking Control, you can have it be forced to positions. You just hold down Control and then move it to where you want it to go. And then it will follow these grid lines. I like to have it right here under it, because normally that's where all the action is. It's more above here, but you can do it wherever you want. And then it will play, and then it will just bounce up and down real fast like that. And then you want to change the text. We're saying I in this moment, so we're gonna go I, and then you can make this bigger so it's easier to see, but you want I, and then in the middle, like about right here, I say like. Okay, so that's good to know. So that you can see it's in the middle of the keyframes. That's fine. You just want the bump. Now, in order for you to not have to do this over and over again for each subtitle, press Alt, hold down Alt, and then click on this, and then drag it to where you said like. I said like right here, so now it's right there. Click on this, and then type like. Just ruining everything. But there you go. Then we have I like. Now what I'll typically do is, since you said it too fast, include like, so other people's brains who go kind of slow can process it. So then there you go. You can see I like, and then audio, which will come. There you go. It's right here. So after it took a little longer, you'll grab this. You'll click it. You can click it. Press Alt. Make sure you press Alt, and then drag it. And then we'll add in our final piece, audio. And there you go. That's how you do text, and you make text. But I guess we go over some other things like rotating it and just seeing what it looks like when you want to like have text do stuff. And we'll do the starter. Let's do the croc tutorial. You can watch me how I do the subscribe croc thing. So what I do is I grab my little file. It's our little guy file. It just plays the music, and then the crocodile's on the screen. So we'll add him in here, just over here. Okay, it's a little guy, and then it'll just start playing the 5 seconds long. That's all you need. But that's not important. We have our little subscribe croc. He's a cute little guy, and he's just gonna be a little tutorial dummy. There you go. Click T, add text. Subscribe. There you go. Yep. Nice little text. I don't change it, so you just leave it right there. And there you go. Now let's do some text moving across the screen. So we're going to click T, add some text. It's now going to go above that one. And then we're going to do move. So what we can do is now with this is you can move it off the screen, click position, and then since typically it will play about right here when it will start doing that, so we'll just, and then add a keyframe, so then it will start as descent. Basically, these two keyframes are the same, so it's not gonna move from there until it passes this keyframe right here. And then once it does that, we'll go to the end, we'll place down another keyframe, but then this time we'll grab its position and we'll move it to the other side and move it down. So what it should do is, I should actually turn this down in case we get copyrighted. We never do. Cool, but there you go. There you go, it's moving. And then that's how you move the text. Now, if you notice, it's kind of rotated in the actual video. So you go over here to rotate, maybe do like a -5. I forgot which direction it is. It's more like a -10. But you can also just rotate it. Since this one is, you can just rotate it like this. It's just whenever you move it right there, when you move it like this on the screen, the position, its base position changes. So you don't, it's better to just move it with like the controls over here, because then you know it tells you, it actually updates to the position and you know where it's at. There you go, that's how you rotate it. Then it'll just move across the screen. And so if you want it to rotate with the keyframes, you'll just click rotate and then have it rotate to just like -30. And then basically now when it's playing, it'll be also rotating to that position of 30. And if you wanted to make it faster, just make it closer so then it moves faster across the screen. Just fix this to make it look better, and then boom, and then you can see that's rotating. And then there you go. And then that's basically the functions. We already did position, scales, see some else. Opacity, we can go over opacity. You want some text to disappear randomly, but you're trying to be a little spookster. So you can just go ahead and add a new text and say some weird. Okay, that's how you spell spooky. All right. We don't want that in the same thing. I try to have text be on 3 separate things, because you never know when you want to change something about something. So I just make a new graphic for text, and we'll change that to spooky, and hopefully we spell it right. You know that's the wrong way to spell it, but it still says the same thing. And then you want it to disappear, so we're gonna go down here, click opacity. We just click it to activate it, and then whatever we want in a keyframe, we can set it to however we want. We want it 50%, it'll only be there 50% of the time. Oh, that actually looks it looks way better. Let me just have it just set it yeah. There you go. Just have it set to 50 by default. And then if you want to move the keyframe, then we just want it to go to 0 to have it fully disappear. So that means it'll show up and then slowly disintegrate. And that's basically it. Yep, that's it for the text.